RuneScape just declared war on WoW. That's right, RuneScape declaring war on WoW, breaking every record. Are we going to have WoW unseated by an old, ancient MMO? Oh no. Let's see what this one's all about here from Bellular.
The dream is that we're not the number 2 biggest MMO brand in the world, we're the number 1.
Ooh.
Now, those were the words of John Bellamy, and last March, he returned to Jagex as their new CEO, and since then, he's been on the warpath. And now, without even bothering to say the enemy's name, he has decided that RuneScape, of all games, is the one to dethrone World of Warcraft.
That's hilarious.
A tall order. There's been a fair few WoW killers over the last 2 decades.
Oh, no.
Now, if you don't play RuneScape, you might think...
Seriously, the WoW killer graveyard, I mean, it's never ending. What do we have? We had Warhammer Online, WildStar, Ashes of Creation. God, there's been so many. There's so many that are like, they're not even, you can't even remember them because they came and went so quick. I'm trying to think of other ones. I mean, like there was City of Heroes, City of Villains. You guys remember those? Rift, yes. Oh God, I mean, the graveyard is massive. Let's just say that.
But this is some form of elaborate joke. It seems bizarre. How can something that looks like this compete with World of Warcraft? Surely not. They're entirely different games. One is an immersive, beloved MMORPG with decades of content, a thriving community, and is considered dangerously addictive. The other one is World of Warcraft. And we can all point at the graveyard of WoW killers that tried to come for the...
Oh yeah, EverQuest Next, Terra, that's right, Archage. Oh man. Yeah, I mentioned Lord of the Rings Online. That's right. What about even Star Wars Online? I forgot what that one was called, but there was that Star Wars Online one too.
And really have not tended to do that well.
Conan
Almost
Exiles,
every single one of them failed.
Yeah.
WoW has been the #1 MMO for over 20 years, and that's a spot that they earned and fought damn hard to keep. So for something else to dethrone it, never mind a point-and-click MMO from 2001, it's going to take something close to a miracle. Now, the guy in question, John Bellamy, has only been the CEO of Jagex for a year, and he comes from a history of private equity and venture capital. So, hey, clearly he's just...
That sounds horrible. He comes from a history of venture capital and private equity, and now he's leading a gaming company? That sounds like they're going to have a fucking store soon with a bunch of shit to buy with real-life money.
Just talking the usual investor nonsense to make sure he keeps his job. Right? Well, that is what it looks like at first glance. But after digging into it, it turns out there's more to this story. And I genuinely think Blizzard may need to pay some serious attention to RuneScape. I said it would take a miracle to top WoW, and the thing is, miraculous is kind of the only way to describe the year that RuneScape has been having. They've done some things that, basically, we never see game developers do.
For Oldschool RuneScape, I think we broke just about every record we've ever had across every major metric in the last 12 months multiple times. It's on an unbelievable kind of heater.
That's kind of wild, right? Though it is something that we can see. The meteoric rise of OSRS has been incredible to watch. Now, you might think it's a rejection of modern-day nostalgia, like, say, our own classic World of Warcraft, but it's a whole lot older. OSRS released in 2013 as a reaction to player dissatisfaction with where RuneScape was headed.
2013, that's old school RuneScape. That's 13 years ago. What the hell? I mean, how long did the original RuneScape come out? I'd have to look that up. But it's been 2007. Anyone who votes for the 2007 service, wow, shit. I remember when it was like the meta on Twitch for a little while to play old school RuneScape. You guys remember that? Like all of the people who were on Twitch for a while were now playing old school RuneScape. 2002, you think? Maybe it came out longer than that. I could look it up real quick here. When did RuneScape come out? There you go. I mean, it already read 2001. Shit. Man, it's crazy to think that 2001 was 25 years ago now. Somebody born in the year 2000 is now 26. What the hell? I'm old as shit.
And it settled in fairly nicely. And right from the very start, they established what I call the first ingredient of their secret sauce, and that is the democratic Classic Plus treatment. You see, OSRS players get new features, new content, new regions, new skills, everything. It is just like the game never stopped being developed back in 2007. Basically, just like we want from a Classic Plus. But before Jagex add anything to the game, they poll the player base, and if a supermajority vote yes, the thing goes in. If it's at all contentious, it gets thrown in the bin. And ultimately, the player is the arbiter of what goes into the game. As you might expect, that approach has saved them from numerous mistakes. The types of mistakes that most game publishers do just run into headfirst. As an example, in 2021, they called on a fan developer to pull down his HD mod because they were working on their own HD upgrades. Players and creators naturally revolted en masse, and Jagex reversed course within a single day. And they actually reversed course so hard that they celebrated the mod developer's work and they shared the release date for the mod. That's kind of crazy.
That is
crazy.
In a
similar vein, just a year later.
So players, I'm guessing players didn't want the HD update. They wanted to keep it like super OG, but then have this add-on as an option if you want it. So RuneScape was going to HDify the entire game. People revolted against it. And then they said, well, hey, if you want the HD version, there's actually this guy over here who made this shit. That's kind of crazy.
They saw everyone using third-party clients that added features to the game. So instead of fighting back against that, they laid out ground rules, they published an approved client list, and they established what sorts of features they consider to be off-limits. That's a really good way of doing it. And by listening to their players and reacting essentially instantly, they are protecting themselves from their own hubris. Though obviously it hasn't been a road without bumps, but it is the road by which they have arrived at record-breaking numbers. You see, their concurrent player counts are freely accessible, and in January of this year, they hit just shy of 260k players logged in at once. And that was not a freak accident, judging by the chart. They came close again in April, and for comparison, that would have made them the 5th highest played game on Steam right now,
crazy.
In the top 70 for all-time peak player counts. Now that may not be quite World of Warcraft level, but it's absolutely...
I was going to say, I wonder how that compares to World of Warcraft level. I haven't looked at these charts. Did it show up on the previous image he was showing at all? I don't think so. I didn't see the WoW logo. Nope, doesn't look like it. Man, Counter-Strike is just never going to die. That shit's bad. That's like that's the FPS of WoW, right? It's the WoW of FPS, I should say. It's just the king that'll never be taken.
One of the strongest games in our industry. And hell, they're even winning the hardest
Steam.
war MMOs pretty much ever have to fight. And that's the war against bots.
Well, it's not on Steam.
Like, seriously, the community has been convinced that recent anti-bot measures have actually
I didn't realize it was
the
a Steam
botting surge, which is kind of crazy and not a thing you usually see in an MMO. And on that development front, OSRS is probably one of the most satisfying games to play. It's up there with Warframe and Path of Exile, you know, devs who really seem to get the players and quite consistently make what people actually want. That ability to take on player feedback is the first ingredient to their special sauce. What's the second one then? Because it will take something mighty to let an ancient Western-focused point-and-click MMO somehow topple the huge incumbent that is World of Warcraft. Yeah, that's what the man in charge wants to do. Well, as it turns out, I don't need to do the thinking because a player in a Steam review basically puts it better than I ever could. Quote, if art is about recontextualizing our most basic relations to the world in a new light or a setting, then this game is truly art. It's the most perfectly balanced mirror for showing how we understand striving for something or work as a whole. Quite the review. Now there's another one that is a little bit more straightforward that just simply says, Black Tar Heroin in video game form. So how have they managed to do this? I mean, if an MMORPG can have one heart at the very core of the experience, it's probably work. Work that manages to hit both parts of the brain, that's fun and that's meaningful. That's kind of the hook, the bit that keeps people playing for years and decades instead of just months. It's that basically you put in work and...
And I'm remembering another failed MMO because I see the hatching in New World. Shit, New World's another WoW killer that died off. And I will say, in terms of work, whatever it came to hunting and gathering shit, I will say New World actually did a great job with that. I've never played an MMO that felt better to chop down a tree than in New World. That was a great tree. They should have just came out with a tree chopping simulator. That would have been more successful probably because they did a great job in the whole tree chopping experience.
That work, that time, it actually
Lumberjack
matters.
world, that would have been a good
and
one.
MMOs are specifically best at this because other people in the world make that feel so much more real. And it's that addictive work loop that's where RuneScape takes the fight to World of Warcraft. And fundamentally, I think it's where RuneScape can win.
Stealing
this story
WoW's
has been building.
lunch.
You see, last year, Mad Season made a video on, quote, the Great Exodus. The TLDR here is that a ton of Classic streamers and players basically got bored with the wait for Classic Plus and decided to give old school RuneScape a shot.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about.
Basically fell in love with the thing. And as Mad Season leads with, a lot of the reason why is basically progression. World of Warcraft is a seasonal game in its modern incarnation. Every patch you lose most of your progress, right? And it can be reset very quickly. Now, most MMOs are primarily seasonal, which can make the whole thing feel rather Sisyphean. The popular line is, one must imagine Sisyphus happy, but the point is that Sisyphus was being tortured. Rolling a boulder up a hill every day only to start fresh in the morning is literally a form of torture. It was meaningless labor with no progress. Of course, it was a punishment for cheating death. Now, OSRS avoids that Sisyphean element like the plague. Progress in the game is horizontal, and updates do their best not to invalidate earlier content. What that means is that when the world grows, it grows forever. Whereas in WoW, every time the world grows, it functionally shrinks because all previous content is rendered obsolete.
Kind of true,
OSRS also avoids FOMO where possible, whereas World of Warcraft pretty much adds more limited events than it does permanent content at this stage. Basically,
Did you guys see the t-shirt event that happened on yesterday? It was a one-day t-shirt event. I completely missed it. I didn't even know it was coming. I'm almost mad that I didn't get to report on it because it didn't look like any articles came out about it before. But there was like this FOMO fucking t-shirt event. You did it? Yeah, we're like evidently in like Orgrimmar and Stormwind, there were these NPCs walking around shooting t-shirts out of cannons, and like a lot of these t-shirts are like ones that people really like in the game, and you could have looted them for free. But it was only a 24-hour event, and I freaking missed it.
OSRS's design philosophy is anti-modern. They do what works, they trust the process, and have been rewarded in droves for having the courage to do that. Now, that's not saying they haven't adopted great concepts from newer trends to spice things up. They've got timed leagues, they've got Iron Man, but those things are fun additional things. They don't detract from the core development philosophy. So then, the experience of playing the game is pure, permanent progress. It's problem-solving, efficient grinding, constantly adding to your accomplishments, with no fear of that work ever being lost to an update. Basically, number go up in a pure, permanent form with loads of complexity to work around with. There's gathering, crafting, a rich economy, tick manipulation combat, lengthy quests, and everything you might imagine. And all of it is abhorrently grindy. It takes a massive wall of knowledge to get into, and hundreds, if not sometimes thousands of hours to reach any semblance of done. It basically is one of the deepest and grindiest games ever put on the planet.
It's probably proof that players still love the game grind. They do. I mean, I think WoW has like really ventured away from the grindiness of things. There's still a definite grind, but it's like very temporary. It's like it's seasonal grinding rather than lifelong grinding. It's getting very grindy right now in here, this conversation. But what I mean by that is the whole grind of getting through a game and continually leveling up, continually getting stronger. That's classic WoW. What changed in World of Warcraft was seasonality of things, where now if you miss a little bit of something, well, the next season you just start over with everybody else. It's not an infinite grind anymore, it's a seasonal one. Where this game, where RuneScape still proves that people still like the infinite one. There's still an audience for it, it's still a large audience. I think Blizzard's ventured away from that because they feel like their player base has aged and the infinite grind's just not appealing to people anymore. They'll probably find soon, maybe with Classic Plus, that no, there's still a huge audience who want that.
And that seems to work for it more than it works against it. And the CEO does seem to know exactly how people play the game.
There's millions of Deloitte consultants out there somewhere that have got Excel open on one screen and Oldschool on the other. And I think you design for that reality, and that's what we do.
Now, naturally, that means it's not a game for everyone. A low-effort, grindy game that will burn through your mouse's rated click count faster than you can ever imagine is, in some ways, niche. But I think the fundamental human thing of number go up is fairly universal.
Number
and
go up
OSRS
feels good.
obviously wins on that front. But aspects of it are niche, and that's why I think it's not going to take WoW's throne in the way that, say, you might expect listening to this video. I don't think it's going to cause a mass exodus of WoW players. Instead, I think it is going to go toe-to-toe with World of Warcraft over a new audience, and for that audience,
The Classic Plus
it
audience.
might just win. John Bellamy called Runescape the second biggest MMO brand in the world, and until this year, it actually managed that with zero Asian presence, literally zero.
That's pretty
Then
crazy.
they released RuneScape Dragon Wilds, which is a spin-off game. It's basically an online co-op survival crafting spin-off thing. Think of Valheim, I guess. It did well in the West,
Okay.
but then they tried to put it out with an Asian publishing deal. 40% of their day one sales were in China, and 20%
Wow.
since. So they have a foothold in China, and you could almost say it's one that they took with ease. The game did super well over there. Meanwhile, on our end, Blizzard haven't been able to release a Warcraft game that draws in new players kind of ever, actually. As an example, we know from our league that Warcraft Chronicles and an Arthas game are in the pipeline, it would
Yeah.
seem, but they're lagging behind. Both companies want to launch global PC and console games to onboard
I think getting new players will really be the mission post World Soul Saga. Like, if you remember, the message for the World Soul Saga for these 3 expansions was really, Metzen was saying, come home. You know, come back, come home, keep coming. I don't know. I get that last part. I don't remember if he said it or not. But the whole message was basically, let's bring everybody back. And I think that was the whole thing, was like, let's get our core audience all back in the game. And then after the World Soul Saga, I feel like the message is going to be, start over. Everybody's starting fresh. If you've never played WoW, now it's the best time to play. Because I feel like there's going to be like a soft reset to the game post World Soul Saga. So they're going to be telling players like, hey, you ever thought about joining WoW, but you feel like you're too far behind to ever start the game? Well, now's the time to start the game because everybody's starting over. The whole world's being reset. And I think that's kind of the method they're going with right now as World Soul Saga finishes and whatever's coming after starts.
to their MMO IP, and with Dragon Wilds, Jagex beat Blizzard to the punch. Part of their future is growing out there, and part of Blizzard's goal to grow Warcraft relies on new people coming in, but Blizzard will be late by the time they get out anything that isn't WoW. Though of course when it comes to Asia, Blizzard has a strong presence already,
Yeah, they
but
do.
it is a historical one. It's more about reactivating lapsed players, while Jagex are out there scooping up potential future players. And to be honest, I think it's clear that if OSRS went fully in
Interesting.
and hosting Asian servers and supporting that market, they would likely see pretty monumental audience growth.
Yeah,
And
they
that would be
probably
growth
would.
from the same audience that Blizzard are relying on reaching.
Man, freaking China gets the best mounts. Hey, Sam, any news on importing housing builds? Isn't it working? I haven't heard anything. Did they shut it down or something? It's live. I don't know if they paused it or not. I don't really do player housing that often. I can say for sure this was a fact. This was in fact pre-watch. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. How dare you accuse me of such a thing?
I expect that, say, Classic Plus will probably hit China even harder than it will hit us in the West, so I don't
Classic
think I'm
Plus will be
dooming the
big.
WoW here. This is far less about WoW bad, and it's far more seeing RuneScape, seeing what they want to do, and finding out, does it have a path to be number one? And the result of the analysis is that it probably does have a path to being number one. It would be hard. I don't think it is a surefire thing, or is even extremely likely, but I think it's clear that it could happen. But there's one final bit to this puzzle, because I actually lied to you at the start of the video. Earlier,
happened?
I spun a bit of a story. I said that their CEO, John Bellamy, was a venture capital guy. And that's literally true, but it's not the entire truth. And that's because he actually worked at Jagex years and years ago and basically was brought back in
So
to
he
set
has a
things
gaming
straight.
background.
You see, Jagex has had a troubled history with CEOs and being sold off to different parent companies, but right now it seems like they're on the up and up. Now, the reason I bring that up is because how decisions get made is really important. So on that, in his podcast episode with The Game Business's Chris String, he's asked about a leading from the heart quote that another Jagex exec gave, and his response was perfect. Here's what he said.
doesn't feel safe. I think it feels safe to have numbers making the decisions for you.
Yeah.
I think as soon as you get lost in that, you're not really making decisions anyway. You're just letting consequences roll out of data points, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
I think for us, leading with heart is the only thing that we can really do well.
Now here's where it gets interesting. One of the first things he got to do as the new CEO was actually remove massive amounts of microtransactions from RuneScape. Now when I say RuneScape, I mean the current less popular product, not OSRS. They had things like the daily treasure hunter money sink that was completely removed in January of this year, alongside tons of other money squeezing progress items.
That's something you don't see every day.
Now he said
they removed transactions. Damn, that's a freaking rarity. I take it back about this guy. Maybe I took his venture capital background too harshly. Looks like he was removing a lot of shit rather than adding transactions to the game. Bobby would be rolling, man. Oh my God. Bobby can't even probably read this. This looks like hieroglyphs to him. Removing transactions. How dare they?
Since revealed that it was a major hit to their revenue, but that it's a hit they were willing to take to reset the game to where it needed to be. It still has monetization, yes, but they fixed the PR issue of having way too much that just felt wrong. And what that means is that in general, the PR out of RuneScape is now almost entirely positive. And even if it dips, they do try to make sure it recovers. The trend line is currently pointing up with almost no asterisks. And you know what? It's impossible to imagine saying the same thing for Blizzard right now. So I'd say this, if I had to make a 5 or 10 year bet right now, does RuneScape overtake WoW as a global MMO brand? I would hesitate, but I would not be able to say yes. World of Warcraft is gigantic. Of course it is. Classic Plus is just around the corner, and if it's done right, Classic Plus would be Blizzard's OSRS equivalent.
That's going to be huge.
It would be huge, I think, especially in China.
Yeah.
And if they can pull it off, I think it will be way more numbers than OSRS will bring in. Then there's the television project push. There's other games that apparently are going to be a thing. If they can actually knock all that stuff out the park... Or
if WoW pulls all this shit off, if Blizzard pulls this shit off, we're going to have like a WoW renaissance. We are. We're going to have like a rebirth of the game. Truly, because you're going to have the base, you're going to have the retail version of the MMO kind of set in like a reset state where new players can finally join again and not feel like they got to redo all the old shit. You're also going to have Classic Plus, which is going to bring back all the classic Andes and have it's going to be probably the best version of any classic MMO that currently exists. And then you're going to have all this TV shit and stuff, bringing people into the lore and then bringing more players into the game. Like, their plan has to be executed, but they do have a plan that really can lead to another, second boom of World of Warcraft.
And just do a pretty good job, then WoW probably will be MMO king until the heat death of the universe.
Probably.
After all, RuneScape, for all of its strengths, is not the IP with, say, one of the most famous king killers in the world. But ultimately, I will say this. It's great to hear the CEO of another company that seems to be doing really well saying that he wants to take out World of Warcraft, that he wants to dethrone it. That's good because it's competition. That OSRS can do that will light a fire underneath Classic Plus. And if things work out well, that'll mean that we just get a better Classic Plus. So, Blizz, don't take your success for granted. And now that Season of Discovery and multiple seasons of Classic and its permutations have happened, well, mess up Classic Plus, and I think a lot of the audience will simply have just had their fill and perhaps move on to OSRS. We have certainly seen evidence that that segment of the WoW player base kind of will, because they already have. Just see the Mad Season video. But if another dash of WoW intrigue is more your speed, check out this video next. It's all about the PTR and the very obvious dangers of it that I think are quite certainly hurting WoW. So if Blizzard does want to keep competitive, I think it's a problem they need to solve.
Yeah, interesting video. Like I said before, how many classics do we need? Well, all the classics that we recently got for WoW are just prep for what we're going to get with Classic Plus. None of them are really the true version of Classic Plus yet. We've had all these classic versions. These are just people kind of reliving the old days. And then you had Season of Discovery, which was probably the closest thing that we're going to see to what a Classic Plus could possibly be. But Classic, everything that they've done in terms of classic versions of WoW has been leading up to this moment. It's been leading up to this BlizzCon. It's been leading up to the reveal of Classic Plus and what they're going to do with the classic version of the game, for sure. RuneScape's at a good spot. Will it overtake WoW? I wouldn't bet on it, but it's good to see competition. Nice video overall from Bellular.